What's up, YouTube? This is DrDabston here, and we're going to go through a quick video here of remapping some of the hotkeys and what may be useful in the long term. I don't really have a solid thing that I use, so I'll kind of update it as I read along here. But what we're going to do is just kind of focus on a couple of the key points. One thing right off the bat is focusing on save camera location. I don't use this yet, but I think this could be very useful. You know, putting it on sacred sites, things of that sort, and able to flash back and forth over to, you know, Control F1 on sacred site 1, 2, and 3 for those F3 keys and everything. So then from there, the key is the unit management. What I have done, and this is what I did from the very start of AoE 4, is cycle through idle economic units. I put on space, and all idle villagers, I click control, I think it's, no, all idle villagers in radius control space. If it's going to let me this time. I didn't even click This is a joke. How can I not? There we go. Okay, all idle villagers in radius control space, so that way I can flip over to an idle economic unit, and if I need to select all of them in that area, I can just do a quick control space and then get all my idle villagers quick set and redone. The next step is going to be your idle military units. Your idle military units is going to be more efficient than selecting all military units, and the reason being here is because your monks and your scouts and some of the others get selected when you do select all. But also, if you have your army fighting, you know, up forward, and you have a second army you want to bring back while you're rallying in, you can just do select all idle, and it won't mess up your army that is fighting forward. So that's one that I'm going to probably end up switching and maybe replacing these two, but waiting a little bit as I go. Another one now is you are able to select actually every individual economic and military unit here. So right off the bat, I'm just going to do select all barracks. And then select all archery ranges as nice and close ones, and I'll probably end up selecting stables and workshops later on, but for now I'm just going to select that to end up being Control B and Control C. That way I can select, those are my two main buildings that you think about wanting as your front infantry line and everything there. Kind of scrolling through all those fast. Those are the main. So now it's control grouping. And so one of the big things now is you're able to swap control grouping to your mouse. And so what I would suggest here is obviously the 1, 2, 3, 4, I say 1 through 7 are pretty easy to utilize still. So what you could do is you could switch 8, 9, and 0 to your mouse buttons. And so what I'm going to start out here just right off the bat in the beginning is now I'm going to select, instead of 0, I'm going to have my mouse button being mouse button 4 being control group 0, and then I'm going to do focus on control group is double tapping my mouse button 4, so just basically replacing all the keys with what I'm doing on my mouse button. So now I'm also able to click 0 if I need it, but I can also click my mouse button, which I'm mainly going to focus on my mouse button here, and I'll talk more about what I put in each control group here in just a moment as well, because that is one of the key things that I think. I know Beastie made a video of his thought process there, and his makes a ton of sense. It's just a little too confusing for me, so I'd rather have it a little easier and more basic. What the? Control Alt mouse button 4, cool. Just reset, making sure I got it. Shift mouse button 4. So that's good now. So basically now, instead of my 0, I'm going to use my mouse button 4, and what I put on my 0 from now on is going to be my Springalds. And so I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about my overall game plan. From the very start of the game, I start out, and if I go second scout, I go scout on 1, second scout goes on 2, and then right when I end up creating infantry units, let's say spearmen, that will replace my scout on 2, and from there, both of my scouts, you can scroll through, I swap my scout, scroll through scouts to my scroll bar. And then from there, my 3 will end up being my archers. So I'll have 1 as my scouts, 2 as my melee infantry, 3 as my archers. And then my 0 or mouse button 4 will end up being my Springolds and Siege. From there, the key difference is Springald and Siege is you want to split up your Mangonels and Springolds. Those are going to be firing on different things. So we'll end up putting mouse button 5 as control group 9 here, and that will end up being Mangonels with my last mouse button. I won't show it all because there's no need for me to switch all that on video, but that'll end up being control group 9 or mouse button, additional mouse button being Mangonels. So that way I'll have Springles and Mangonels on different ones, and then I'll have infantry and archers on 2 and 3. And then if I need horsemen, I can throw those in control group 1 and then just scroll through my scouts as well. So that's really my main thought process. And then my 4 is, I've just kind of gotten it ingrained in my brain to put 4 as all my military production buildings, which I'm going to start to switch off that and get used to that. As you just saw, I set Control B to barracks. I'm going to get used to doing that more, and I'll eventually probably replace 4 with something else. 5 is my town center. I always have 5 as my town center. I'm used to it, and it's ingrained in my brain, and I'm not going to be changing that. 6 I usually put as my mosque, or anything else that's going to kind of be a specialized building, whether it be something different. And so that's really the big thing there. So if I'm Delhi, mosque will be on 6 because I'm going to be utilizing those more. If it's something different, I could even put, some English can make keeps, can put military production out of keeps, so I could do that with 6. Just a bunch of different things. 6 is kind of my hybrid key that's easy to click that I always think about being that specialized. 7 I put barracks. Or not barracks. 7 I put blacksmith. I'm just used to that. It's always been there, so I can click over to it real quick and get an immediate upgrade. I don't put my economic units on anything because I'm used to clicking F2 if I want to get the quick upgrades. Because that is one of the things. F2 is all your economic production, and then you can tab through because I don't think it's that necessary to put a control group on specific things there. And so that's the main thing. I will say that the big focus on, though, would be splitting up your Springolds and making it own control group for Springolds, because Springolds are such a key factor in fights later in the game. You could totally win fights just by killing a few siege units, and that'll straight up win you the game there. So that's one of the big things, and that's why I put it on my mouse button, is because I'm going to be clicking that. It's going to be easy, fast to react, and I'm already used to having my my spearmen and infantry on 2 and 3. I used to put Springolds on 1 because that was such a big focus there. So now instead I'm putting it on my mouse button, and that's going to be my focus. I'm not going to look at any of the ping stuff. None of that's really big. Single player, that's and here comes the observer thing. So that's mainly the kind of quick swaps of the hotkeying and control grouping that I'm doing. I basically added 2 mouse buttons for 2 different control groups that are going to end up being my siege, because I'm so used to already having my infantry and archers on 2 and 3. And then I'll most likely end up over time swapping my 4 away from my military production and probably make that one being knights alone. So that is the main overall take on my control grouping and hotkeys. Thanks for checking in. If you watch this on Twitch, thanks for showing out and saying what's up. If you watch this on YouTube, throw the subscribe or the thumbs up below, and come check out for the next video again. Appreciate y'all.